Alright, on to round 3 with free win red. And let's see what this hand has in store for us. We're on the play. Alright, this hand isn't absurd, but we have turn 1 Chalice, turn 2, or no. Turn 2 Chalice, rather. Turn 2 Chalice on 1. Turn 3 Ensnaring Bridge, turn 4 Chandra. And that can still be good enough in a lot of matchups. New plan. New plan involves Chalice on 0. Our opponent is probably playing Restore Balance. Gargadon suspended. Jeez, all the lands. Well, let's get our bridge out there. Pass the turn. Windswept Heath for our opponent. Well, I don't know if this is the hard lock or not. I'm really unsure. But we're going to play Chandra. Start taking up Chandra. Dealing some damage to our opponent. Pass the turn. We can Blood Moon next turn, although I don't think it's super good. Maybe it is. Our opponent has lots of colors. Maybe it's good enough. And I guess it depends on what else is in our opponent's deck. Opponent passes. Well, let's take up Chandra. Damage our opponent. Play the Blood Moon. Opponent cracks Windswept Heath. Gets a basic Plains. Mardu Charm to make a couple of 1/1s. Sure. Play the Mountain. Pass the turn. So our opponent can actually attack with the 1/1s. They are small enough to get in under the bridge at the moment. As long as we don't draw a land next turn, though, that should change. Opponent going after Chandra. Chandra down to 4. Okay. Violent Outburst is going to pump up the dorks. Now you can see our opponent's deck for a second. Emeralds, Nahiris, Ajani's, Blood Moons. Oh, okay. Fair enough. So our opponent has Planeswalkers, which are technically an out. We do counter the Restore Balance. We also get hit a little bit. Come on, land. Or non-land. Alright, Blood Moon works. Let's start by plussing Chandra. Hit our opponent to 12. Play the Mountain. Play the Blood Moon. Pass the turn. Gargadon down to 6. So we'll just cast this Desperate Ritual so our opponent can't attack us. Or our Chandra. Simian Spirit Guide. Well, let's take up Chandra. Do we want to even cast Chalice? I say no. Yeah, let's not. And we will just Faithless Looting to get empty-handed. Pass the turn. Draw and discard a Magus and a Ritual. That's not that bad. Opponent passes. We get a Magma Jet. Well, let's Magma Jet our opponent. We'll keep the bridge on top. I don't mind having a second bridge. And pass the turn. Opponent passes. We get another Chandra. Well, exile, hit our opponent. Cast a second Chandra. Keep the new Chandra. Take up Chandra. Hit our opponent. Pass the turn. 2 more turns of Chandra, assuming we don't draw a burn spell. And our opponent scoops it up. That went pretty well. Chalice on 0, good against Restore Balance. Based on all of those Planeswalkers, we probably want Needles. And as weird as it sounds, Shatterstorm hits their mana. Probably not worth it, though. Relic doesn't do anything. Dragon's Claw, Witchbane Orb. Probably not good enough. Our Blood Moon effects don't seem that great. But on the other hand, our opponent's Blood Moon effects are not that great. So let's try it like that. The other thing is I don't really know what we're trying to lock out as far as cards to deal with our stuff. Like a lot of times you want to set Chalice on 2, for example, our Merfolk matchup to stop a Hurkyl's Recall, or also like Destructive Revelry against Burn, but in this matchup I'm not exactly sure. Opponent has a Border Post. We draw another Mountain. Well, let's just Faithless Looting. Discard a Mountain and a Mountain. Cast Chalice on 0. Pass the turn. Land for our opponent. And another border post. Well, Ritual gets us a Planeswalker. Alright, we'll just play the land pass. So we get a Planeswalker down next turn. Probably go with Chandra first. Opponent cracks Windswept Heath. Gets a Plains. Pick the brain. Alright, well, we're going to cast whatever Planeswalker is left over, I guess. Opponent does not have Delirium, so they're not going to get rid of all of our whatevers. I don't know. I guess it depends on their hand. If they can't deal with Koth, Koth closes out the game quickest. So I guess that's probably a good choice. Blood Moon, not great here. So Mountain, exile Spirit Guide, play Chandra, take up Chandra, pass the turn. We can even Faithless Looting next turn if we want to. Based on what we've seen from our opponent, playing Blood Moon doesn't seem that important. Anguish Unmaking takes down our Chandra. Opponent's down to 13 though. Well, let's Magus of the Moon, play a Mountain, pass the turn. Magus of the Moon is at least an attacker. Gargadon, suspended. Opponent plays a land. We draw another Blood Moon. Well, let's get in with Magus of the Moon. Flashback our Faithless Looting. Get rid of these Blood Moons. Discard Blood Moon and Blood Moon. Pass the turn. Gonna wait till next turn for looting, since we want more discardable cards, potentially. Did our opponent find a Planeswalker? Lingering Souls. Yep. And flashes it back. Well, let's looting. Wouldn't mind finding a bridge. Well, discard Spirit Guide and Mountain. How many counters are on this Gargadon? 9? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, let's attack with Magus of the Moon. Opponent blocks, and blocks, and blocks. And blocks. Alright. Well, get rid of a couple spirits. Pass the turn. We do get some scries off of our Magma Jet, which will be nice. Opponent gets in for 2. So down to 18. Border post. Replays the swamp. Well, end of turn. Magma Jet our opponent down to 9. Put both to the bottom. Well, that's Faithless Looting. Discard 2 mountains. Well, at least we got through the mountains. Play a mountain. Pass the turn. We're needing our Ensnaring Bridge here pretty quick. Because this Gargadon, down to 8, down to 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Our opponent could Gargadon next turn. We've gone through a lot of lands, though, which is good. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So, almost half of our lands are gone. 22 in the deck. Opponent. Oh, another Souls. Well, we really need to... We really need to find Ensnaring Bridge, then. Our opponent might put down the Gargadon here. Yep. Here comes the sacking. And then we're also going to have to hope our opponent doesn't have another Anguish Unmaking. Yep. Well, our opponent's pretty much going all in. Which means if we find a bridge here, I think we're suddenly heavily favored to win. And we get 2 scries. We have all of our bridges left in our deck, so the odds are not horrible. So opponent attacks. We Magma Jet. Alright, mountain to the bottom, bridge to the top. That's what we were looking for. This should buy us a ton of time. Especially now that our opponent has sacked away all their mana. We're not especially worried about Anguish Unmaking or something, at least immediately. And now we just gotta find another Planeswalker to finish out the game. Opponent passes. Well, double bridge is even better. So now even if they draw an Anguish Unmaking, they're not gonna get rid of both bridges. Opponent passes. So this free win took a little longer than normal, but still getting there. Opponent finds a forest. Plays a border post. Play the mountain. Pass the turn. Forest for our opponent, and passes. There's a Chandra. Take up Chandra. Hit our opponent to 5. Pass the turn. So, few more Chandra pluses to finish this off. Opponent does not have Planeswalker mana yet. Opponent passes. Well, take up Chandra. We're just going to hit our opponent. Cast Faithless Looting. Pass the turn. Opponent goes to 2? Well, they got to beat us here then. Because 1 Chandra plus, or deal with Chandra. But 1 Chandra plus kills them down to 1. Alright, a Johnny keeps our opponent alive. They have to take it down. Yep. Goes up to 4. Well, let's tick up our Chandra. No redirect. Play a Needle. On a Johnny. On a Johnny Vengeance. Pass the turn. Well, this is it. Our opponent has to either kill us or deal with Chandra, or they are dead. And there's the GG's. Sweet. Free winning our way to 3-0 in our competitive Modern League. Haven't even dropped a game yet, actually. We are cruising through this league so far. Sweet.